All right, let's jump into something truly pivotal in medical technology today, PTCT scanners. We've all likely heard the terms, maybe, but perhaps haven't fully grasped their crucial role or just how much this market is expanding.
It's a really fascinating area, definitely. We're talking about advanced diagnostic imaging tools, specifically these PTCT scanners, that sort of sit at the intersection of combining functional and anatomical imaging,
Hmm.
all in a single, incredibly powerful scan. Their impact on how we approach diagnosis and even treatment in healthcare is, well, it's immense.
Okay, so our deep dive today is all about understanding what makes these scanners so unique and, what's genuinely driving their significant market expansion. And crucially, what the detailed numbers tell us about their global reach. We're drawing specifically from Cognitive Market Research's report on the global PTCT scanner market. So for those of us maybe picturing a basic X-ray, how exactly are PTCT scanners such a game changer in diagnostics? What makes them so advanced?
That's a great question. Fundamentally, PTCT systems are hybrid systems. They combine positron emission tomography, that's the PET part, with computed tomography, or CT.
Right, PT and CT.
Exactly. And the core innovation here, the real key, is that this combination lets clinicians get both functional information, things like metabolic activity or blood flow,
Okay.
functions, and detailed anatomical images, like the structure, from just one scan. This dual capability gives incredible precision. It allows doctors to pinpoint abnormalities with much, much greater accuracy than before. And this precision, well, it directly translates to their wide-ranging applications. They're absolutely crucial in oncology, for
This
instance.
is Jessica, right?
Yes, not just for detecting cancer initially,
Yeah.
but also really important for monitoring how well a patient is responding to therapy over time. But beyond cancer, they're essential in cardiology, too, for evaluating various heart disorders,
Yeah.
and in neurology, uh, assessing a whole host of brain conditions, think neurodegenerative diseases, seizure disorders, that kind of thing.
Wow. Okay. That dual function sounds incredibly powerful. Oncology, cardiology, neurology. So, with such specialized and frankly vital uses, what are the primary forces really propelling the impressive global growth we're seeing in this market?
Well, what's truly fascinating here is how their utility directly feeds into that market growth. You've got a few key drivers. First, there's a clear rising demand for early disease detection, just across the board. And PTCT really excels at providing that early, precise diagnosis.
Makes sense. Early detection is key.
Absolutely. Second, and it's an unfortunate reality, the growing global prevalence of cancer means a sustained and frankly increasing need for these kinds of diagnostic tools. We're also seeing increasing investments in healthcare infrastructure worldwide, particularly noticeable in developing regions, which help support adopting advanced tech like this.
Okay, so better infrastructure makes it possible.
Right. And finally, there are the continuous technological advancements within the imaging systems themselves. They're constantly getting more efficient, more accurate, and, gradually more accessible.
So it's kind of a perfect storm then. Clinical need, infrastructure investment, and that relentless tech innovation. How quickly is that translating into actual market value? Are we talking about a steady climb or more like a steeper hockey stick projection when we look at the global numbers?
Well, if we look at the figures from Cognitive Market Research of the global PTCT scanner market, it generated a substantial $1,528.55 million back in 2021.
1,500 million, okay.
Yeah, over 1.5 billion. Looking ahead, it's projected to reach $1,900.8 million. That's 1.9 billion in 2025. And then by 2033, we're talking about a market expected to grow to $939.33 million. So nearly $3 billion. That's expanding at a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 5.6%.
Wow, okay, that's nearly doubling the market size over roughly a decade, a 5.6% CAGR. That certainly sounds healthy. But for cutting-edge medical tech, does that signal sort of steady, mature growth, or does it still leave room for, disruptive leaps?
I'd say it indicates robust, sustained growth rather than, say, a speculative bubble. While maybe not a hockey stick, 5.6% for a high-value medical device market of this scale demonstrates strong confidence. And continued investment, definitely. It means the technology has really proven its worth, and it's being integrated more deeply into standard diagnostic pathways all around the world.
Okay, that puts the global picture into perspective. But where exactly is this growth concentrated? Let's zoom in a bit on different regions to see how this growth actually manifests on the ground.
Absolutely, good idea. Let's start with North America. So this market was valued at over $371 million in 2021. and it's projected to comfortably exceed $684 million by 2033.
Big jump there, too.
It is. And unsurprisingly, the United States is the clear leader here. It accounts for well over half of that regional market, which
Right.
demonstrates its continued dominance in healthcare investment.
Right.
But beyond the U.S., both Canada and Mexico also show consistent, healthy growth. Canada's looking at around $165 million by 2033, Mexico over $53 million. They're contributing significantly to the regional expansion, highlighting broader efforts to enhance diagnostic capabilities across the continent.
Okay, so strong growth across North America. What about Europe?
Right, moving across the Atlantic to Europe, the PTCT market there was around $308 million in 2021, and it's anticipated to grow to nearly $579 million by 2033. Here, you see major strongholds like Germany, the United Kingdom, and France driving a substantial portion of the market. Germany, for instance, is projected to hit almost $138 million.
Significant.
Very. And the UK over $100 million. What's also notable is the strong growth in countries like Russia, hitting over $80 million by 2033. And even smaller economies like Luxembourg and Switzerland are showing solid growth, which indicates a really broad push for advanced diagnostics across diverse economic tiers within the continent.
Interesting. So it's not just the biggest players.
Exactly. It's widespread adoption. Now, for the region that's really the most expansive globally, Asia-Pacific, this region generated over $562 million in 2021. That's already larger than North America or Europe back then.
Wow, okay. Leading the pack.
And its trajectory is truly impressive. It's projected to reach over $1.1 billion by 2033. That makes it the largest and the fastest growing regional market.
Over $1 billion just in Asia Pacific.
Correct. And what's truly striking isn't just the overall growth, but the sheer dominance and rapid acceleration of China. China's market alone is projected to exceed $360 million by 2033.
360 million? Just China.
Just China. And this surge isn't merely about population size, though that's a factor. It likely points to significant government investment in modern healthcare infrastructure, and maybe a concentrated push towards early cancer detection initiatives. Following closely is India.
India's growing fast too, I imagine.
Absolutely. It's experiencing a remarkable surge as well, more than doubling its market value by 2033, projected to hit over $165 million. And then you have other key players like Japan, around $139 million by 2033, and South Korea, around $68 million, all showing robust growth. It really solidifies Asia-Pacific as the undeniable engine of this market's global expansion.
That's a really clear picture. Asia Pacific is definitely the one to watch. What about other regions like South America?
Good question. In South America, the market was valued at about $125 million in 2021, and it's estimated to grow to over $222 million by 2033. Brazil leads the way there, contributing well over a third of the region's market value, projected around $85 million by 2033. But countries like Argentina and Colombia also show substantial growth, indicating increasing efforts to modernize healthcare infrastructure and improve diagnostic access across the continent.
Okay, steady growth there. And the Middle East?
The Middle East market started at around $111 million in 2021, projected to hit over $231 million by 2033, so more than doubling as well. Saudi Arabia leads this region, showing a significant increase in adoption, looking at about $77 million by 2033. And other key contributors like Turkey, the UAE, and Egypt are also seeing substantial investments in these advanced systems, probably driven by growing healthcare demands and, rising prosperity in some areas.
Right. And finally, Africa.
Lastly, Africa. Now, while it's currently the smallest market, around $49 million in 2021, it's forecast to grow to over $81 million by 2033. So it's showing consistent expansion, albeit from a smaller base. South Africa and Nigeria are the primary drivers of this growth. South Africa projected near $39 million, Nigeria around $29 million by 2033. It reflects, I think, nascent but important steps towards integrating advanced medical imaging into their developing healthcare systems.
Okay, that's a comprehensive tour. What genuinely stands out to you, hearing all these numbers laid out region by region, it really does seem like Asia Pacific, especially China and India, is poised to truly reshape the global landscape here.
Absolutely. If we connect this back to the bigger picture, that consistent and, in some cases, accelerating growth across such diverse regions, it really underscores a global commitment, or at least a trend towards advanced diagnostics. And yes, Asia-Pacific's dominance, driven by China and India primarily, isn't just about market-size numbers. It reflects, I believe, a fundamental shift in healthcare investment priorities. Prioritizing early detection and advanced treatment monitoring on a massive scale, this isn't just, market data for investors. It's a testament to potentially improving patient care and enabling earlier intervention worldwide. It could indicate a real global health paradigm shift.
Ah, that's a great point. So for you listening, whether you're prepping for a crucial meeting on medtech or just trying to stay updated on healthcare trends, or maybe you're just insanely curious about medical innovation, understanding this market really illuminates the critical expanding role these technologies play. Combating major diseases, enhancing healthcare infrastructure globally, it clearly highlights where significant investment, innovation, and ultimately where patient impact is currently focused. So, just to quickly recap our deep dive today, we've explored the dual powerhouse that is PET-CT scanning that functional and anatomical view. We've dissected the key drivers behind its significant market growth, everything from urgent clinical demand for early detection to relentless technological advancements. And we've charted those impressive financial projections globally and regionally, all thanks to the granular insights from cognitive market research.
And looking at all this, this robust growth and the pivotal role PET-CT scanners play, particularly in early detection and treatment monitoring. It does raise an important question, I think. Considering the diverse economic situations, the different infrastructural landscapes across the globe, what might be the long-term ripple effects? The ripple effects of this accelerating technological adoption on broader public health strategies and maybe on resource allocation within different healthcare systems worldwide. Something to think about.
That is a fascinating and critical question for the future of global health indeed. A perfect place to pause. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time. Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed, fast. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the really fascinating world of PET-CT scanners. Think of them less like just machines and more like, well, powerful diagnostic detectives. They unearth secrets other scans just can't see. Our mission: to unpack why these sophisticated devices are becoming so indispensable in modern medicine, what's driving their market globally, what challenges they still face, and maybe most importantly, where their future is headed. And that future, it might really surprise you with its impact on patient care. So let's start right at the beginning. What is a PET-CT scanner exactly? What makes it such a big deal?
Okay, so at its core, a PET-CT scanner is basically a two-in-one machine. A dual modality powerhouse, you could say, combines positron emission tomography, that's PET, and computed tomography, or CT, into one single scan.
Right, PTTT.
Exactly. And what makes it revolutionary is this. CT is great at showing the structure, the anatomy of organs and tissues.
Like a detailed map.
Precisely. But the PT part, that shows the function, the metabolic activity, what's happening at a cellular level.
Ah, so structure and function, that's the key difference.
That's the key.
Good.
You get both anatomical detail and this window into cellular processes all at once. Let me give you a practical example. Say a doctor suspects a patient has lymphoma.
Okay.
A standard CT scan might show a lump,
Yeah.
right? It tells you the size, the location.
But not what it is.
Exactly. Is it active cancer? Is it just scar tissue? The CT alone can't always tell you. That's where the PET-CT shines. Before the scan, the patient gets a tiny safe dose of something called a radiotracer. Usually it's like a radioactive sugar molecule.
Sugar? Why sugar?
Well, cancer cells are often really hungry. They gobble up glucose, or sugar, much faster than healthy cells. So these active cancer cells light up brightly on the PT scan because they're taking in more of that tracer.
Okay, I see. So the bright spots show the problem areas.
Right, the PTC scan puts it all together. The CT shows where the suspicious spot is, and the PT shows how active it is. And that combined view, it's just incredibly valuable for diagnosis, for staging the cancer, seeing how treatment is working.
Things a single scan might completely miss.
Absolutely, it's a much more complete picture.
That structure versus function distinction, it really is powerful. So, thinking globally now, what's really pushing the growth? These machines seem to be entering more and more.
They are, and there are a few big reasons. A major driver is, unfortunately, the rising number of serious chronic diseases worldwide.
Like cancer.
Yeah, sadly, cancer is still a leading cause of death. But also, we're seeing more neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's.
And PET-CT helps with those too.
Definitely. For all these conditions, getting an early, accurate diagnosis is absolutely critical. PET-CT plays a huge role in spotting them earlier when they might be more treatable, and then helping doctors map out the best personalized treatment plan. It's really changing how we approach these diseases.
And you mentioned it's not just cancer anymore, right? The applications are broadening out.
Oh, absolutely. Oncology is still the biggest piece of the pie, no doubt. Yeah. Things like staging lung cancer, checking if chemo's working. Yeah. That's bread and butter for PET-CT.
Right.
But Its versatility is really unlocking new areas. Take cardiology. It's becoming super important for looking at myocardial perfusion.
Myocardial perfusion, so blood flow in the heart muscle.
Exactly. How well the blood is flowing. It helps pinpoint heart tissue that's damaged or at risk. Very important stuff. Or in neurology, like we touched on, there are specific tracers now that can actually bind to amyloid plaques.
The ones linked to Alzheimer's?
The very same. So it aids in diagnosing and tracking Alzheimer's progression. This ability to get both the anatomy and the function together is just proving useful in more and more fields.
That really highlights how versatile they are. But here's where I think it gets really interesting. The technology itself is leaping forward, isn't it? It's not just more demand. The scanners themselves are getting way better.
Oh, they truly are. The pace of innovation is quite remarkable. We're seeing huge improvements in image quality, patient experience, everything.
Like what specifically?
Okay, so things like time of flight capabilities, that's a big one.
Time of flight. Sounds complex.
It is a bit, but basically it measures tiny differences in when photons arrive at the detectors. This helps pinpoint the signal's origin much more accurately. The result? Sharper images. And faster scans, too.
Faster scans are always good.
Definitely. Then there's AI-assisted imaging. We can talk more about that, but it's fundamentally changing how images are processed and read. And even the materials used in the detectors are getting better, more sensitive, more efficient.
So what does that mean for the patient, practically speaking?
It means faster scans, which is great for comfort. It means significantly lower radiation doses in many cases. And maybe most importantly, it means better diagnostic accuracy. Doctors can see things more clearly, catch problems earlier. It's honestly like comparing an old flip phone camera from 2008 to the latest smartphone camera. The difference in what you can see and do, it's night and day.
Those tech leaps sound amazing. Faster, safer, clearer scans. But that kind of cutting-edge tech usually comes with a pretty hefty price tag, right? I bet cost is a big hurdle.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest challenges, honestly, the capital cost. A single new PET-CT scanner, we're talking millions of dollars.
Millions. Wow.
And that's just buying the machine. Then you've got ongoing costs, specialized maintenance, highly trained staff. You need technologists, radiologists who know how to read these complex scans. Plus, the handling and regular supply of those radio tracers we talked about. They have short half-lives, so it's complex logistically, too.
So it all adds up, making it tough for smaller places.
Extremely tough, especially for smaller hospitals or clinics in lower resource settings. It makes adoption very difficult.
And that cost issue must tie directly into the problem of accessibility, right? It's one thing to have the technology exist. It's another for people to actually be able to get the scan when they need it.
Precisely. That's a huge issue. You see a real concentration of these advanced scanners in big city hospitals, often in wealthier regions or countries.
Leaving rural areas behind?
Often, yes. Rural areas or entire countries with less developed healthcare infrastructure, they might lack the facilities, the trained experts, or just the sheer financial resources needed. It creates a pretty stark gap in diagnostic capabilities across the globe. Large populations remain underserved.
And what about patient safety? You mentioned radiation doses are coming down, but there's still exposure involved, right? Especially with both PT and CT. How do doctors balance that?
That's a really important point, and something doctors are constantly managing. PT-CT scans do involve more radiation than, say, a standard X-ray or even a standalone CT.
So there is a risk.
There's always a theoretical risk with any radiation. The concern is heightened for certain groups, kids, for example, or patients who need many follow-up scans over time for cancer monitoring.
Right. Repeated exposure adds up.
It does. So the medical community puts a huge emphasis on optimizing protocols. Using LOR as low as reasonably achievable, they aim for the lowest possible radiation dose that still gives them the diagnostic information they need. It's always a careful balancing act.
Balancing the benefit versus the risk.
Exactly. Weighing that immense clinical need, the life-saving diagnostic info you can get, against the very small calculated risk from the radiation. The goal is always to ensure the benefit far outweighs that risk.
Okay, so those are some significant hurdles: cost, access, radiation safety. But let's shift gears now. What about the future? What are the exciting trends that might actually help overcome some of these challenges?
Right. Well, one of the absolute biggest game changers on the horizon is the integration of artificial intelligence, AI.
AI in medical imaging. We hear a lot about that.
And for good reason. It's not just hype here. AI is starting to revolutionize the whole imaging workflow. We're talking about AI algorithms that can help reconstruct images, making them clearer from less data, potentially even with lower radiation doses.
Okay, better image quality?
Yes, but also helping with interpretation. AI can automatically detect subtle lesions, maybe things the human eye might overlook, especially on a busy day. It can segment organs precisely.
So it helps the radiologist.
It acts like an assistant, really.
Hmm.
It can cut down the time it takes to read a complex scan, which helps with workloads, and it can boost diagnostic confidence, especially for finding really early-stage disease. Imagine a radiologist reading a scan, and the AI is right there, flagging tiny spots that need a closer look. It's not science fiction. This is starting to happen in clinics now.
That's a powerful image human expertise augmented by AI. What else? I think you mentioned something about portability.
Yes. That's another really exciting trend, moving beyond these huge fixed machines in hospital basements. We're seeing the development of more compact PTCT systems. Some are even being designed to be mobile.
Mobile PCT, like in a truck.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Or just smaller systems that could fit into an outpatient clinic, maybe even an emergency department. This really opens things up, bringing the technology closer to the patient instead of the patient always having to travel to a major center.
That could tackle the accessibility problem you mentioned.
Exactly. Think about a mobile PTCT unit, maybe in a specially equipped van or trailer. It could travel to serve patients in remote rural areas, maybe in places like sub-Saharan Africa or parts of rural India where access is extremely limited. That bypasses the need for building huge infrastructure everywhere. It could be a massive leap for global health equity.
A true game changer for access. And are the uses for PTCT still expanding too, beyond the areas we've already touched on?
They really are. We're constantly finding new frontiers. We talked about neurology, tracking Alzheimer's progression, evaluating new drugs for it.
And cardiology, the blood flow.
Right. But even beyond that, they're looking at detecting inflammation in artery walls, maybe predicting heart attack risk better. And interestingly, during the COVID-19 pandemic, some places actually use PTCT to get incredibly detailed pictures of lung inflammation and damage from the virus.
Wow, so even for infectious diseases.
In specific research or complex cases, yes. It showed its potential utility beyond the traditional cancer, heart, and brain applications. The technology is just that powerful.
Well, it's clearly such a dynamic field. So who are the main companies driving all this? Who are the key players in this market?
Well, you have the established giants, the big names most people would recognize in medical imaging. GE Healthcare, Siemens Healthineers, Philips Healthcare. They have huge portfolios, decades of experience.
Big three, essentially.
Pretty much. They dominate a large share of the market. But it's not just them. You also have companies like Neusoft Medical Systems, Mindray, Positron Core. These firms are making real inroads, especially by innovating for maybe more cost-sensitive markets, offering competitive systems, widening that access we talked about.
So there's competition driving innovation, too.
Definitely. And what's really interesting now is how they're competing. It's moving beyond just the hardware specs. Slightly better resolution here, slightly faster scan there.
Right.
Now, differentiation is increasingly about the digital side. The software, the AI integration, cloud platforms for sharing and analyzing images, especially with things like global supply chain issues still causing headaches and regulations getting tighter, that digital innovation is becoming key.
So companies focusing on AI, cloud, remote diagnostics, they're better positioned.
I think so, yes. They're positioning themselves for where the field is clearly heading. It's about the whole ecosystem, not just the scanner itself anymore.
Wow. We have covered an incredible amount of ground today. It's been a real journey through this remarkable world of PTCT scanners. It really sits at this fascinating crossroads of high technology, critical medicine, and ultimately patient care.
It really does.
From showing that hidden metabolic activity of disease, helping doctors make better decisions, to these new ideas about mobile units reaching underserved places, these aren't just machines. They're vital partners in healthcare today.
Absolutely vital.
So let me leave you, our listener, with a final thought to chew on. We've talked about these rapid innovations, AI, portability, and also the big challenges, especially access. So thinking ahead, maybe 10 years, what could widespread, genuinely accessible PTCT imaging really mean for global health equity? What diseases might we tackle more effectively? How many lives could be transformed if this powerful diagnostic tool was truly within reach for everyone, everywhere? It's a powerful question, and we really encourage you to keep exploring this incredibly dynamic and important field.